Hey YouTube, right here. Got a video game rant today, and it's on microtransactions. Microtransactions are absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. Now, in free-to-play games, all right, I understand it. The company's got to make money. There might be server costs, so on and so forth. I've talked about microtransactions before when I was talking about SAO memory defrag, but at this point, I want to address. I want to address it more on a, you know, gaming community wide scale. So, microtransactions. I understand microtransactions in a free game, like I stated before, but they have to be reasonable and not based off of random loot. Unless you have it where, like, the random shit that you can get is then taken out of the pool if you don't need, copies of it. If you need multiples of something, then get cheap microtransactions. Already covered that. Watch my SAO defrag video if you want the full scoop on that. But then you get games that charge you the retail price for the game and then put microtransactions in. Now, if it's just cosmetic, it's still gross, but at least at that point it's not affecting gameplay. But like pay to win items, I mean, hell, even experience boost items at that point, hell the fuck no. Not unless you're going to charge me $1 and I get a year's worth the double experience, or a 50% boost for each dollar that I spend in. All right, fine. Yeah, that's going to make it exceedingly pay to win, and people are going to burn through the game fast, but whatever. But you've got people now that are trying to defend shit. Like, perfect example. Blizzard's new darling. Yeah, I'm talking about Overwatch. The microtransactions in that are absolutely fucking ridiculous. And they keep trying to pass it off as a benefit to the player. It's not a benefit to the player. Stop. Just fucking stop. Us giving you money is not a benefit to us. How about that? That is a good general rule. Us having to pay you money is not a benefit to us. Can we get benefits from doing that? Yes, but that in and of itself is not a benefit. Us deciding that we don't want to give you any more money and your game going under isn't a benefit to you. So why should the reverse be a benefit to us? Why should game companies fleecing us for extra money, nickel and diming us to death, be considered a benefit to us? Now, here's a good general rule. If you charge for a game, if you charge that premium price, don't do microtransactions. I've only seen microtransactions done reasonably in one game, and again, I covered that when I was talking about Final Fantasy XI and making comparisons to Guild Wars 2. Now, Guild Wars 2 had a pretty good idea for their system. Those who were sitting there and doing the, I'm just buying into it, I'm only buying the core game, still had a way of, with in-game currency, getting cash shop items. So that's pretty cool in and of itself. Now, if a game decides to go through and say, all right, you know what, we're going to go ahead and have these items. Yeah, you can buy them with in-game currency that you ground out in the game, but we're going to make it insanely expensive. All right, fine. Go ahead and do that. I've seen games do that, and guess what? I'm always game for it. I will sit there and grind that shit out. But I'm not going to sit there and be okay with them saying, oh yeah, you can go ahead and get these few items that are pieces of shit that you're going to end up ditching after level 20. Let's just go with an MMO setting on this. That you're going to ditch at level 20 and never look at again. But if you want stuff that you can use in the later levels, oh yeah, no, you stump up the extra cash. Because the thing is there's never really an equivalent, or if they do have an equivalent to that, it's like a 0.00000000001% chance of dropping off of a boss that takes 9.5 hours in a 40-man raid to take down. And not everyone gets a drop. Only one person out of the 40 can get the drop, and it decides randomly. I know that that's an exaggeration, but sadly, you know what? I'm pretty sure we're going to end up seeing a literal representation of that at some point, if games keep going the way that they're going. Now, I remember a little while ago, there was basically a Battlefield game that was free to play, and people were like, oh, awesome, awesome. Except for the fact that it was microtransactioned out the ass. Your weapons degraded. The amount of money that you could get from a match would only cover like the basic starter weapons for degradation, which even those degraded. And they degraded with use. It wasn't, oh, if you win, you know, you get less degradation. No. More than likely, if you won, you were sitting there and pumping round after round. They even charged you for ammo. That's right. They charged you for ammo that you used. Now, that's all fine and good if you're a person that's using a Mosin or something like that. All right. Cool. Because you're more than likely one-shot, one-killing people, or two-shot killing people. Fine. But what if you have an SMG? What if you have an LMG? What if you have any type of machine gun? Anything that you hold down the trigger and it'll empty the clip? What if you got one of those guns? Because you're now firing a whole bunch of bullets in rapid succession, so your gun is degrading fast. And as your gun degraded, it got less accurate. So, unless you went in there and you had multiple guns, more than likely towards the end, you were going to go ahead and start getting your ass handed to you, degrading your armor. Everything degraded. Bullets cost you money, and the amount of money that you could get, you had to do exceedingly well just to stay afloat with anything other than starter gear. You still had to do okay. You basically had to come out even to cover the cost with the starter gear. That game's not around anymore. And for good reason. Although it held on a lot longer than what it should have. Until people realized, hey, you know what? In a month of playing this game, and the money that I have to pump into it just trying to get the levels and trying to keep my gear up and running, I could have gone ahead and bought the latest Battlefield game on console or PC and had the one-time fee. Now, that right there is a perfect example of the avarice of these gaming companies and them sitting there trying to test the waters to see how much they can get away with. At that point, that game went straight into the deep end. No warm-up, no foreplay, no nothing. It was all like, yeah, no, fuck you, bitch, give us money after your first match. And the netcode on it wasn't even all that good. That's the thing. Well, I mean, Battlefield game. Come on, you're not expecting good netcode. Not until like 2 years after it's been released. But... and don't get me wrong, I love the Battlefield games. Absolutely love them. I love the destructible environments. I love the way that the guns handle. I love the basically the virtual weight of the guns. You know, it's all like when you're using those guns, it actually feels like you're firing something that could kill somebody instead of the typical pew 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 feeling that you get from games like Call of Duty and all that. With anything other than a 50 cal sniper. But I have an issue when microtransactions get out of control, and unfortunately we see a lot of microtransactions going out of control. I consider any game where you have to buy the game first and they are charging you full retail price for the game, and then they have microtransaction in it, that's microtransactions out of control. Not unless they're sitting there and for each microtransaction they are literally charging you a penny. And that's with the microtransactions being completely aesthetic. Looking at you, Overwatch. But it's one of those things where the AAA companies saw this happening. You know, they saw the indies doing it and they're all like, hey, we want in on that. And they came in with absolutely no understanding of it. Like AAA companies do. I mean, let's just be completely honest. AAA companies don't even know what the fuck they're doing anymore. They've completely lost touch with reality. They've lost any semblance of sanity. Whenever I think of AAA companies, I always think of Scrooge, you know, taking the tuppence off of his basically best friend's eyes in the morgue. Or mortuary, whatever. But that's what I think. And it's fucking gross when I think that there are people that actually tried to defend that type of activity, and it's people that are getting the dick in their ass right along with everyone else. It's got to be some level of Stockholm syndrome at this point. And for those who don't know what Stockholm syndrome is, it's basically if you get kidnapped and imprisoned and you're treated like shit for so fucking long that you somehow end up oddly being attached to your kidnappers and you try to make excuses for them. Or if you're in an abusive relationship and, you know, like you hear it all the time with, you know, these battered wives that sit there and go, oh, no, I fell down the stairs. And then when that fails to satisfy the issue, then it's, oh, well, I pissed him off. I had it coming. So on and so forth. And it's just like, why? Why are people like this with their games? Games are supposed to be something that you enjoy. Now, if you don't mind stumping up extra money to a company, that's on you. But the thing is, you aren't helping anyone else. You aren't helping the people who either can't afford that, because a lot of people that play free-to-play games Guess what? They're playing the free-to-play games because they can't afford the AAA games. Why would you expect them to spend, AAA money into a free-to-play game just to play the game without having to wait 3.5 hours between each action? What the fuck? Honestly, I think as far as free-to-play games are concerned, the one that did it the best was actually Fallout Shelter. Because, I mean, yeah, there was a lot of waiting in there. You expect it from a free-to-play game, but the thing is you were actively seeing the progress that you were making. You know? And you could plan out ahead of time what you were going to do. Were there random things that could come in and completely fuck you in the ass? Of course, yeah. It's Fallout. Welcome to it. But at least with theirs, yeah, you could go ahead, you could buy the lunchboxes, and yeah, it was a lottery, but you got multiple cards from it. You usually got good shit from those, and they actually gave you free ones. You know, they on a fairly regular basis. Like when I was first playing it, I didn't have to spend any money in. I ended up spending a few dollars in just to support them on it. I'm like, you know what, these motherfuckers are doing it right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to spend a little bit of money in. It wasn't because I needed the shit. It was because I wanted to support them and I had that little bit of extra money. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be them sitting there and going, oh, you enjoyed the first, day of our game. All right, well, now we're going to go ahead and hold it ransom. Now you need to start paying us a steady flow of money to make any progress whatsoever. Unless you don't mind your progress bar ticking up 1% every 30 hours played. And like I said in the SAO video, I absolutely love that game. I haven't played it recently. I've gone ahead and I've started playing Skyrim. I've started playing Sims. I've started playing all these other games again because I'm just so sick and tired of the randomness behind it and them sitting there and trying to go, oh yeah, that currency would really make this a lot faster for you. It would make it a lot easier, wouldn't it? Oh, look at that guy who's got all this maxed out shit. You know he spent the money in. Don't you want to be like that? Where's our $160? And that's for you to be insanely lucky. I'm sorry, I'm not going to spend half the money that I would on a new console on a free-to-play game. Sorry about that. But, one of my biggest complaints with Overwatch is, yeah, they've got that basically gambler bullshit going on there, but then they take it a step farther. And they have it where they don't take out the stuff that you already have out of the pool. So you can go ahead and end up getting extra of the same item, which then it sells you and gives you like this paltry in-game currency amount, which really is a waste of fucking time. It's a slap in the fucking face. I mean, hell, if they wanted to go ahead and have something like that in the ones that you get for free from leveling up your characters, okay, go ahead and do that. But have the ones that the loot crates that you end up buying be different loot crates that check what you already have and take those things out of the loot pool. And have it to where if someone ended up, basically buying the game and then just bought a whole bunch of loot crates wanting to unlock all the alternate skins, all of the tags, all of that shit, then have it where it's all like, yeah, okay, there's an extra $120 or an extra 160, 180, whatever, set whatever the price would be at that point. So that way, if someone goes through, plays through the game, levels up characters and, gets a few of the things, at least then they know they're not going to be getting that from the loot pool with their purchased shit. But no. Blizzard couldn't do that. And Blizzard is one of those companies that, I can't say that they don't need the money, because, I mean, with World of Warcraft subscriptions going down as fast as they have been, and, just ultimately their sales going down the way that they have been until Overwatch came out, I can see them trying to milk it, because, I mean, they're kind of in their death throes. Let's be honest here. I mean, as far as AAA companies are concerned, because they always have to have, at the very minimum, $60 million in the bank, so that way they can be developing their next AAA game. Which to me is absolutely ridiculous, especially since I've seen some indie games out there with graphics just as fucking good. The only thing that isn't just as good, optimization. But even that is kind of hit and miss with these AAA companies. I mean, like I said before, the netcode for Battlefields takes months to get that shit worked out. And I'm not talking about 2 months. I'm talking, 3, 4, 5, hell, half a fucking year. So you can't really say that, well, with AAA, at least you're going to have good optimization straight out the gate. You can't even fucking say that. It's gotten to the point where I'm sitting there, I'm all like, the only reason why AAA companies are still around is because they own a lot of the popular IPs. If it wasn't for that, these AAA companies would have been ditched a long fucking time ago. They're the crack dealers with the purest crack, but they're pricing way the fuck out of everyone's price range. Whereas the crack dealers with the slightly less pure crack are charging less than half. Unless you're talking about No Man's Sky, at which point, well, Hello Games done fucked up there, because if they hadn't charged that AAA price for their game, they'd only charged like $20, guarantee you they wouldn't have gotten as much flack. They would have still gotten flack because people don't like the whole Molyneux bullshit that went on there. And if any of you are too young to know who Peter Molyneux is, or you've been living under a rock, Peter Molyneux has an entire development cycle named after him. It's called the Molyneux cycle. Basically what it is they go ahead, they're in the middle of developing a game, guy comes out, starts saying all this shit's going to be in there, it's going to be fantastic, and then 3/4 of the shit isn't in there. Then they start developing the next game after the sales have petered out on the first one, and then that same guy comes out and goes, yeah, that last one, we couldn't get everything in there, that last game sucked, but this new game, it's going to have all that stuff and more in there, and it doesn't. Wash, rinse, repeat. That is the Molyneux cycle. It was basically, it really got noticed full-fledged at around the time of Fable 3. When Fable 3 came out and people noticed that the exact same thing happened, they're like, all right, this is a cycle. This isn't something that just happened as a one-off thing. This is something that is now common. And now Peter Molyneux is the laughingstock of the gaming world. Basically, if someone says that you're being like Peter Molyneux, it's basically the biggest insult that a developer can get. I mean, let's just be completely honest there. I mean, at that point, I don't think that there's a bigger insult out there. I mean, hell, at that point, walking up behind the person's mom, sticking your dick in her ass, pulling your dick out, and then slapping them across the face with your shitty dick afterward still would be less insulting than being called Peter Molyneux. And, well, the Molyneux cycle was seen with No Man's Sky, and that's the reason why it's called No Man's Lie. The reason why people are calling Sean Murray Sean Molyneux, or Peter Murray, what the fuck ever. It's that motherfucker is not going to have any credibility whatsoever afterwards. Like, if he's sitting there and his name is on a game, people catch wind of that. Oh, wow, people are going to smell monster turd on it, and they're going to be all like, yeah, we're not going to buy that until the game's been out for like 3 months and we've seen everything in it, to make sure that everything's in there that was promised. But it's not just Hello Games. We've also got Bungie that pulled that same bullshit. Now, I know I got off track and I was talking about microtransactions, but the thing is microtransactions kind of hit the same nerve that DLC hits with me. It's all like, when you can tell that DLC was cut out of the game so that they could charge you more later, and it actually negatively impacts the main game. It's not like they chopped off, like the last half of the game and they basically sold it to you in 2 parts. No, that's a massive issue. And it's right up there with microtransactions. I mean, I've seen games where they basically have it where it's all like, oh yeah, it's $5 for this expansion, $5 for that expansion. Problem with that is there's 12 expansions to the fucking game. And the expansions are like maybe 3 or 4 levels and like an extra character that you have to level up from scratch. And the best armors are all microtransaction shit that's like $15 a piece for each gear. It's all like, you sit there and you just look at this shit, and I mean, you gotta feel like you need to take a shower afterward, because it's filthy. It's one of the grossest things out there. Other than being called Peter Molyneux. But, microtransactions. Stop buying into it. Show them, hey, this isn't the way to get money from us. The way to get money from us is give us good quality games and then give us good quality expansions for said games. If you're not going to go ahead and do both of those things, it's not one or the other. If you're not going to do both of those things, then you can go ahead and fuck right off. We'll stick with our indie developers that don't feel like the world owes them something. And I'm not saying that indie developers don't get that mentality. Some of them think because they're indie developers that the world owes them something, that they should be given extra leeway on shit. That isn't the case. Now, it might be the case for, as far as graphics are concerned, maybe the initial release as far as optimization is concerned, because they've got a smaller group working on it. But you've got games that are trying to be passed off as indie that are coming from these production groups that, have 600 people working on it. That's not an indie game. An indie game is a small group of people. But the thing is, as soon as an indie game charges AAA price, well, they're definitely going to be judged on the AAA standard. I mean, that's a low standard as it is, as I've said. The standards for AAA is pretty low, but the thing is it's a step up. There's a lot harsher reviews when it comes to AAAs than indies. A lot of people give indies a lot more leeway, but we're not going to give them complete leeway. You still have to offer something of value. I mean, we are in a consumer market at this point, and so, if the consumers don't like your product, you can't sit there and get mad at them for not buying your product. But, yeah. as far as microtransactions are concerned, they need to stick to free-to-play games, but even free-to-play games need to keep it within reason. If you're charging a premium for your game, don't... or even worse, if you're sitting there charging a premium for your game, charging a monthly fee for it, and then also having microtransactions, fuck you.